Good morning. Happy new moon in Virgo. And it's a black moon, which means it's the second new moon in this month. And it is also a partial solar eclipse. So this is a really big moon. I called my moon report stepping into a new reality. And that's how I feel. It's actually how I kind of feel this morning. Um, but I just wanted to share my thoughts with you. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chart. All right. So here is the chart. And there's a lot going on in this chart. So first thing that I'm going to draw our attention to is the sun and moon are at 29 degrees, 5 minutes of Virgo. This is the last degree of Virgo. And all new moons are the beginning of a cycle. So we closed out a cycle in Virgo um, at the full moon. And we also was the beginning of the beginning even a month ago, right? While the new moon was in Virgo. So at this time, we are closing out a cycle of Virgo. And the way that I have perceived this is that Virgo, which is a pretty elaborate archetype, um, is the energy essentially of the details. It's sorting out the details. So Virgo rules the digestive system, and Mercury rules Virgo. And Mercury has two signs that it actually rules, Gemini and Virgo. And Gemini is the external expression of, sorry, Mercury. Gemini is the external expression of Mercury, while Virgo is the internal expression. So in the external expression, it's about gathering information. It's about taking in new information. In Virgo is where we digest it. It's like, okay, it comes into the storehouse of what we already know, and we decide, does it line up? Does it not line up? Just like the digestive system. We eat a bunch of food, the digestive tract decides what nutrients we need and what nutrients we don't. That what we don't gets put into the waste. So at this end of Virgo, so that's the general energy of Virgo. Virgo, when you're looking at it at its opposition, this polarity between Pisces, Pisces is like the energy storehouse. This is where everything dissolves into at the end of its time, and also from where everything is birthed from. It's the end of the cycle. And since there really is no such thing as an ending, endings are just new beginnings. Um, this um, and the way Virgo aligns it with this is that it looks at all of the little details, the parts, because this is what we discern from one from the other. And in Pisces, it's the whole. So when I'm talking about Virgo and the Mercury, Mercury is how we gather information about our surroundings so that we can perceive our, you know, if we're safe or not, really. And if you look at Mercury or the Gemini archetype in the natural chart, it is really flanked by Taurus, which is our ability to stay alive, to keep ourselves alive, survival, and Cancer, which is about feeling safe and nurtured and protected. And so this energy of Mercury, Gemini, gathering information ultimately is to keep us safe. It's to keep us alive. So we're aware of our environment. In the sign of the way it's working through Virgo is that we are looking at the details, like it's the myopic view of of how we are sorting the reality. What happens in the emotional sphere is when we see ourselves, Mercury, well, actually it's a node, but or the moon, when we see ourselves through the lens of being separate, which is how I have been describing it. I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, so I tend to look at and experience myself as separate. Um, but that's coming to an end. So when we look at ourselves as being separate, we feel inferior. Like we really look outside of ourselves and we're measuring, Virgo, we're measuring, do I line up? Am I acting correctly? Do I need to be more quiet? Do I need to be louder? We're constantly analyzing ourselves and adjusting ourselves to fit in so that we don't feel so separate. We feel more part of the whole. And so this can lead to an energy of inauthenticity because if we are not just being our natural spontaneous selves, we're constantly adjusting and deciding how we need to be. Um, we can't really be free to be spontaneous. And when we look at this Virgo energy here, we're talking about ending that cycle. And what I mean by that is that when we do that, when we see ourselves, moon, and express ourselves, sun, through the lens of the external, will we be accepted? Do we fit in? Kinds of energy. We are not coming from the Aries archetype where we just are spontaneously acting, where it's a more authentic kind of energy. And so I feel like this new moon and this eclipse energy, because the eclipse is something is blocking the sun. So we're really getting this opportunity, and it's only partial here where we are in the world, in the West. Um, but it's still, there's a somewhat of a blocking of the sun so that we can really um, internalize this energy from within inside ourselves is how I see it. Um, so the South Node has been traversing through Virgo since January, I believe. And we have been focusing on this Virgo energy, how we have in the past, and this is the whole collective, everybody's been doing this, been feeling where we're separate or we don't measure up, and then we're also, the direction of emotional growth is Pisces, to where we feel complete. We see ourselves as complete. And so this is the energy we're working with right now. And what I see is we are letting go. Because the 29th degree, the anaretic degree, is this Pisces energy. It's the letting go, a dissolving of this, looking at ourselves through the lens of being separate or through the lens of how other people might see us, um, which keeps us from being spontaneous and authentic. So a couple of things are pointing themselves out to me. I want to first go to Mars. Mars is also at the anaretic degree of Libra. So Mars is how we action ourselves, how we behave, um, how we are spontaneously ourselves. And basically what I see linked to what I've been talking about with the Virgo archetype, this is the end of acting through the lens of the other. We're ending that. And so, which, if you look at Mercury, is in Libra as well, but it's in the beginning of Libra where our mental faculties and how we see the world is beginning to see the other differently. So the other is a mirror. The external world really reflects who we are on the inside. It doesn't appear that way because we do see ourselves as separate. It's part of this human experience. But we are going to experience our relationships in a way, not where we see ourselves through the other, but that where we can see ourselves through the reflection of the other. Um, and that's a shift. That's a change in the way we've been behaving. Um, and this is also a new phase to this new moon. So those two dynamics are big here. We're shifting our perspective, and um, we are really stepping into a new reality. Let's go on. I want to bring our attention to Venus. Venus is the planet of relating. It rules Taurus and Libra. In the sign of Taurus, it's about how we relate to ourselves. And in the sign of Libra, it's how we relate to others. And so it's just moved in. So it's a very new cycle. This is about an adjustment period, the Virgo, how we're going to adjust the way we relate to ourselves and the way we relate to others. And so, as we end this cycle, new moon in Virgo, we're really beginning this new energy in relating to ourselves and relating to others. So, when we have Venus in Virgo, we're really looking at first ourselves. We are relating to ourselves differently. We are going to see ourselves differently. And when we link it to the moon, we're not going to be seeing ourselves through the eyes of the external, but we're really looking from this internal realm, this Taurian realm, looking at our needs and our values and really what life means to us in particular. And as we shift this energy, because Virgo is about adjustment, we will eventually begin to relate to ourselves differently. And as a reflection, we'll relate to the external world. So when we're gathering information and just taking in information about what we need and what we value in life, which is new because we're ending this external value structure. As Pluto went through Capricorn, we've kind of let go. We are moving away from this external control and having to come into a place of internal control, where we are the scribes of our own life and our own reality. And this is what's beginning. This new moon is saying we're not going to let the external world control who we are anymore. We're going to come in and we're going to be ourselves and allow the external world to reflect that for us. So let's see. And I'm just going to jump over and talk about these external planets. Neptune. So the last time we spoke, Neptune was at 1 degree. It is now retrograded back to 0 degrees. It's at the Aries point. I do believe it's very close to where Saturn and Neptune will converge in February. Well, they will converge at the exact point. I do believe it's around 45 minutes. I can't remember exactly and didn't look before I created this video. So we'll say that it's very close to that point. And this Neptune is this Pisces energy. It's where we're dissolving something into the whole and also bringing something out at the same time. Because, like I said, endings and beginnings are one and the same. And in the sign of Aries, we're talking about ourselves, who we are. We're dissolving an old version of ourselves, and we're accelerating this because it is retrograde. And we're really um, allowing this Piscean energy, the dream, the ideal of what we expect of ourselves, what we see out of ourselves to really manifest. We're letting go of the old and beginning the new. And Neptune will revert back into Pisces for a little bit, and we'll really get to complete the dissolving before both planets, Saturn and Neptune, move forward into Aries. But I do want to point out that Pluto is still at 1 degree, Uranus is at 1 degree. These outer planets are all retrograde right now, which is really pushing us into this accelerated change. Um, Pluto is asking us to break out of our external control just to free ourselves. Aquarius is the sign of, freedom, of brotherhood, of where we become our individuals and then join with other individuals. It's also about progress. We're on the human level, we're going to progress forward, and we're leaving these times that we're living in behind. But we have to build ourselves up to be able to take this journey forward, each of us individually. And so this is what's happening. It's happening in the collective and it's happening as individuals. Now, Pluto's in Aquarius, therefore, it's being ruled, the planet that rules Aquarius is Uranus. And the trine is here. It's pretty close to exact, it's only 8 minutes off of being exact. And this trine energy is like this integration. We're integrating and really kind of trying to harmonize this energy of breaking free from a way that we've gathered information, which is interesting. We have, particularly as a group, as a whole collective, gathered information through the eyes of the other. So, we have, we're concerned with how we behave. We have these things called manners. Manners are this external expression that we are to follow. We look at, and when we see people that aren't using manners, we start to Virgo them. Oh, they are less than, or something's wrong, or how that energy goes. Uranus is coming along, and it's like, no, shocking. We're breaking that energy apart. So when I'm talking about how we let go of this Virgo, the way we've seen ourselves, we're looking at this Uranus, and it is linked to the Pluto through the trine. This changing, this shift in consciousness, I like to call Uranus in Gemini, is allowing us to break free from that external and really step into a place where we can, the opposite of Aquarius is Leo, step into a place of true authenticity, which is the polarity point of Pluto and the direction and desired soul growth for all of us, individual and collective. So, okay, now I think I've talked about all of the particular energies that I wanted to discuss, because there's a lot going on in this chart. But there's some alignments that are very specific. First of all, we've got these oppositions that are happening. Saturn, I should talk about Saturn a little bit. Saturn is opposing this new moon, And Saturn retrograde. Saturn is about our authority, the way we've been parented, the way we parent ourselves once we're adults. And it is when it's retrograde, we are accelerating this energy of self protection, self authority, personal authority. And because we have Pluto in Aquarius, which is breaking us away from external authority, we are really accelerating this energy of personal authority. In the sign of Pisces, we're talking about the storehouse of what can be created, the dream, what we'd like to see in the world. We're really able to accelerate this energy of creating what we want to see in the world. And that is opposing this letting go of looking at the world from the outside of us to creating the reality that we want to see really from the inside of us. And these two things are swinging back and forth to find a balance. We're always finding a balance in the opposition, looking for the midway point, which tells me that we will continue to view the outside world, but it won't be completely like that's how we have to measure ourselves. There's going to be a balance point. So let's see. I've lost my train of thought and where I want to go. Oh, okay. So we've got four very important alignments happening here. We have yods, and I've talked about these before. These are the finger of gods, and they are this energy that brings transformation, and it brings transformation in two different ways. Wherever the vertex of a yod, and let me explain, they are two inconjuncts that come together. As you can see, with these two inconjuncts come together at a vertex, and the energy is to really focus on that vertex, to really bring it out. What these inconjuncts are saying is that there's a little bit of conflict going on. There's some crisis that's happening because these external energies are being worked. And that's where they are right now. They're being worked. And so an inconjunct is a blind spot. We don't actually see that the way that we relate to ourselves and the way that we Virgo ourselves and our needs and our values, because we've been used to the external values, and it's really hard to learn how to have hold of our own values. And so it's causing this inconjunct because we don't actually see that us not having a really strong internal value system is preventing us from accelerating our dream and how we want to see it. And so an adjustment is needed. We really have to focus on the Venus energy, the Venus focus toward ourself, to be able to allow Neptune to happen. And this is the Virgo type. So we have two types of inconjuncts. We have one where it hasn't quite met the midpoint. We call that the Virgo or the gibbous phase inconjunct. And we have one that's gone all the way to the other side. It acts like Scorpio. It's already it's already past the midpoint in the Scorpio area, not the Scorpio sign. And that requires an external adjustment to be made, the way we act outside. And so inside, the inner adjustment for this energy to manifest itself is to really begin to focus on our internal values, what we need, what we value, and to really begin to live life not from a place of we're not good enough, but we are going through the day by day process of meeting our needs and living towards our value to see how the meaning of life grows for each of us. On the other side of this yod, we have the ending of seeing ourselves through the eyes of the other. The complete. We're not going to act from that manner anymore. And that is also in a blind spot, but it requires an external adjustment, like literally letting go of that energy of seeing ourselves from the eyes of the other. And we look at these sextile between these two, and it's a closing sextile where this is where we're like creating this new identity for ourselves, and these two energies support each other, that by turning inward and meeting our own needs and our own values, we in a way that we're not feeling less than, we're just doing the work, we're just living life, and beginning to make these tiny little adjustments where, oh, you know, I can't wear this shirt today because it's not the right color, or, whatever the external vision is, we begin to let that go, and we begin to do what it is that we need based on our own terms. That's yod number one, and an important one. The other thing that I noticed is that we have yod number two pointing at Mars, and yod number three. Now, that's to me very unusual that the original yod really is encompassing the other two. Let's look at Venus first because I have this. So the energy of bringing this Venus energy into fruition is linked to both Neptune, in other words, to really accelerate what the meaning, the higher meaning of our self is, and what the dream is for ourselves, and really accelerating that, letting go of the past way we have, and beginning to dream in our beingness into the future. And so we don't actually see that, but doing that energy really helps us to value what we are doing in our life at the particular moment. And it gives us a sense of satisfaction that we are taking care of the needs of the dream, to bring the dream into reality. Also, Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto, this Neptune is the external. This is where we are needing to act differently in the external to bring it into our relationships. We act differently in the external world to help this energy. Over here, this is about breaking free from any kind of exterior control, where perhaps we've been controlled by rules, laws, regulations of the system that's dying down. And that is an internal adjustment. Other way around, sorry. This is the internal adjustment. This is the external adjustment. We really have to break free from the external control and live the dream to bring this Venus into fruition. And finally, let's look at the Mars. We're looking at, in order to really lift this to the surface, this vertex point, we're to lift it to the surface and to let go of acting from the energy of what others might think of us. We really have to break free from a perspective that we've been living through, that we've all held, and that is fracturing at this point. And then back to Venus, it's also, I mean, to Neptune, it's also about living the higher meaning, living the dream, bringing the dream of who we are into this reality. So those three yods are very, very important. And this whole chart here is this like energy, a doorway into a shift in the way we experience reality. And we'll have to do some adjustments to step through, but it is this chart is making it very possible. The final, let's see if I can click on. So the final alignment that I want to talk about is this kite. And a kite is like this faded energy, and it's pointing toward Neptune. This is the fate. We're always meant to break out of and dissolve all of this external and really come into our true selves. This is part of the evolution of human beings, of mankind. And at this time, we are beginning this process because we have Pluto in Aquarius at 1 degree. We are breaking out of the mental construct that we've all lived under for a very long time. And we are really, Neptune spirit is bringing our beingness, our individuality into the forefront. The kite, I can try to draw it in for us. Let me just see if I can. So it goes, we've got the two, I'm sorry about my lines. We've got the two sextiles, which are supportive of this energy, breaking out of the mental construct and breaking out of the external control, help us to really come from our true selves. And it's right at the beginning. So we're just like infants stepping into this realm of newness. The opposition point here is the new moon. By letting go of this Virgo energy of seeing ourselves as not good enough because we've been looking through the eyes of the other, by letting that go and really beginning this energy of valuing what's coming from within us, what we need, what we value, and just living our life on a day-to-day, improving ourselves, not because the external world wants to improve us to improve, but because this is the direction that we're going. This is the trine. Ooh, my lines are terrible. Sorry about that. There you go. That's the kite. And if I could connect those two edges so you would see the kite, but I don't think I can. Um, this is the energy that I'm seeing. This very, very powerful moon phase is really opening the door for us to step into a very new reality and to be able to live it and to enjoy living it while we're doing it. And I think that that is what I'm seeing in this chart. So, yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. Let's say that that is the energy that I see that's happening. And for any of us that have a lot of Virgo in our charts, this may be happening right on a planet that you have, and you'll be experiencing some intensity, some intense shifts. You might actually, I would imagine you'll notice it. If you want to get further detail on what I was just discussing and, the little short 30 minutes, I have written a very detailed, it's actually longer than usual, moon report you can find on my Substack account, and I will link it in the comments below. And then if you are ever interested in me looking at your chart and helping you to discern what's happening in your life, I will also link below my website where I have a series of different um, ways that I can help and look at your chart. So I want to thank you all for listening, and really happy new moon in Virgo, solar eclipse, and doorway into our future. And have a wonderful day today.